welcome everybody to the Chief Talk meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with having a roll call. My name is Dr. Here Hall, Joshua Tullier, Sean Myers, Brian Cochran, Fire Department, Michael Knight, Public Works, John Wallace, City Portable. Donnie Moore, Parks and Youth Services. John Payne, Portable Police Department. Dominic Parcho, Police Department. John Simone. Yeah. We've got a couple of guests on the outside.
I'm Sarah Anderson, IT analyst for the police department. I'm Shannon Kyle. I'm an HR.
Okay, thank you. Oh.
Fernando, can you first?
Thank you. We've got somebody else, right?
Lovely.
Everybody? Next, I'd like to all stand for reflection, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Please be seated. Now I'd like to open this up for any oral communications. For this board committee. Aren't any. Under scheduled matters, we'll conduct this as we have in the past. We'll go through the minutes. Excuse me, minute approval, where we do quarter in Q3 of measure H&I expenditures, and we'll add into that at the same time review by the department heads for the preliminary budget for fiscal 22 and 23. So let's get started with the draft minutes. Is there a chance to review those? It'll take a few minutes before it's returning to vote. Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Measure passes. Next, I would like to start the review of Q3 expenditures from measure H and I, and I'll start with Jerry.
Chief Michelle and I had a short phone conference, and he sure that Captain Marshall will also relate to the apologize not being here, because he would rather be in Kentucky. That's where he is. But he did he was the person who was returning his call. And on major H groups, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but there's really nothing to make it. It's important. We really need to take a look at it.
No, Mr. Paul, thank you. Mr. Chairman, yeah, Chief Fellows out of town, I'm sure you to be with us this evening. Matt staff and I were able to go over our 22.2 budget with measure I believe standing out. We had I believe the conversation we had with Chief Fellows and I also spoke about what measure I with the collectible entries of some descriptions of some items that needed further identification, and so we addressed that with some new staff that we have.
Just for clarification's sake, it was just a data entry And they do have a new person who is inputting the data, and some of the terminology needed to be massaged a little bit, and that was taken care of. Anything else like that? No, sir. Just other than, once again, like I said, and I don't want to sound like I'm just repeating myself, but I'm very proud of our police department and the good stewards they are. With our money.
Is there any comments you'd like to make on next year's proposed budget?
I did just want to mention the fact that, we're focusing our resources on high crime places, and with the next coming year, we're looking at using, police crime analysts to focus on hot spotting, police problem-oriented policing, and intelligence-based policing. To allow us to utilize our resources more efficiently and effectively to predictively, respond to crime and actually predict as opposed to being responsive and increase our proactivity.
So that takes a lot of detail. Do you currently have that capabilities to gather that garner that detail?
We do. So, in the last 18 months, we purchased a new CAD, a computer automated dispatch system, and a records management system. And that system is something that we are continuously learning on and expanding our knowledge base on. And that's the purpose of the crime analysis, to be able to drill down the data that was able to provide and actually make it useful for us so that we can predict those crimes, those kind of high crime areas, create cross-spot mapping, and be able to address the issues that we cause.
How much data do you have on that? Is it backloaded to it? Is it just current for we got it, or?
We did a little bit of both, if you will. We did patch over some of our pre-existing data so that we had historical database as a part of it, and then a live database that we're building questions on as well.
Is that data pretty much exclusive to the police department, or is that shared with other departments if they need it or something like the fire?
We coordinate with fire as well if they need data. We cover to that as far as we're able to use our CAD and RMS system to provide mapping locations for them, and those are embedded as well for their system.
That's the major changes in the budget last year this year.
Yes, sir. In addition to just some of the overall existing costs that we're seeing with this operating budget period for vehicles and other equipment that we're purchasing.
Any other major purchases? Like, more vehicles or?
We are purchasing vehicles, as our vehicles age, and get higher mileage on them, and the maintenance costs start to go up on them. We annually examine that on those vehicles, and then we.
You referred to the CAD systems. They've been around for quite a while. And they evolve as technology evolves, but the public can access the CAD system remote because most of them have a real time or close to a real time entry on events that are taking place. And you can go in to Google and specifically ask for my experience with California Highway Patrol, CHP CAD, and you can put in the area or the city. And you can see what's taking place, accidents, no specific detail, but you can find things that are taking place in your area if you so desire. It's pretty unique system in that the way it helps law enforcement, and I'm sure fire has similar procedures. But just for the public information too, that is available if you want to see what's going on.
I don't know, a push-through basis, so if there was a wreck that shut down a street, would that push out an email or a tweet or whatever all those verbs or terms are that show that? Would that push that out so people would know to stay away from an area like that or something? Or
Not currently. I mean, I'm not sure on the capability of it able to do that. We do have a public information officer, so when those types of events do happen, we utilize social media.
Occasionally they'll be in concert with Highway Patrol or Caltrans Cigarette, which is same thing to advise people if their accident, fire, something that's going to cause some significant problems and people transition from one to another.
we use that a lot when there's travel LA a lot. There was a push through of some kind of information.
We got KNX, yeah, KNX, yes.
We have a, I guess maybe what you may be referring to is we have what's called a reverse 911, where we set perimeter area that you want this message to go out to, and I don't notify everybody of that area. We utilize that primarily during like high risk implementation, where the public staff is notified every single person in that area. It's very labor intensive for our communication center when those calls go out. People start calling.
Sure. Okay. Very good. Anything else you'd like to add?
Don,
Yes,
on the cars at the auction, is that money you get from them come back to the PD or? I see you got some cars out there that will be auctioned off.
It goes back to their equipment replacement for the.
So and like the animal control pickup, it goes to sale.
Will go back to the PD equipment replacement account.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, I'd like to move on. John? Let's talk about.
Yeah, I met with Deputy Chief Cosburn yesterday for in person. We went through measure H and measure I. Everything was looked good. Any questions that I really have jumped out.
Yeah, I think appreciate the time in person. Mr. Byron yesterday with the budget. They will answer questions about our expenses from this last quarter. But I did want to take the opportunity to go over a few of the items with the rest of you that will be added to our budget, particularly improvements that wouldn't be possible without Measure H and Measure I. I tell you, the Measure H and Measure I have been tremendously helpful in the fire department. Especially in reaching the goal of recommendation in our report following the library fire. So without it, this wouldn't be possible. So I want to take this opportunity to express my appreciation for everything, as well as appreciation for the voters' measure. Some of the big changes within the organization this year is we're increasing our staffing. And one of the things that we're having to accommodate our staffing, we're looking at remodeling our station. So the funding that will be available for remodeling our station in the Measure I budget, as well as a new code enforcement position to help with the workload that's there. Additionally, we have several training ground improvements we're making for fire training, help it replicate, simulate live incidents as much as we can on the same ground. So that's a big part of our changes that are coming from Measure I. And then the other increases to our budget, just the overall cost of goods and services. I'm sure some here to experience the budget on with that as well. Additional training funds, things like that. So again, appreciate the integration, Measure I, and then my department.
Would you like any comments about your upcoming budget?
So the big changes are the ones I outlined with the interest rate graph. But the changes to the upcoming budget, one of the deficiencies that we've had to address is the vehicle maintenance area. So obviously, the cost of fuel, the cost of maintenance is on us, so we're having to increase part of our budget there. But also, part of the money from that goes to our vehicle replacement fund. The cost of fire trucks gone for the increase that and compensate for that. That way there is an extension of the life, service life of right now it's 20 years. We're getting adjust those funds, we'll have the appropriate replacement amount there, we have to push those vehicles out. We've adjusted that to make sure we don't have a lapse in the quality of our equipment put on the street. The other increases in my training budget, I'll accommodate the recommendations of the report, training that the department has. I think that covers the whole together.
I know it sounds kind of foolish, I'm sure you've explained it before, but what is STAR stand for?
So SART is the Serious Action Review Team. That was a group of fire chiefs around the valley, as well as former fire chiefs. Mike Kraus from the city of Bethesda that oversaw the review of the library fire and made recommendations for improving the overall safety of our department. And several recommendations that are outlined there, heavily areas of training as well as staffing. Referencing NSPA 1710 to the National Fire Protection Agency 1710 outlining the record of daily staffing for an organization our size to address the single family dwelling. Single family dwelling, the home of you and I live in, requires 17 firefighters. We weren't meeting NSPA 1710, but part of those recommendations to start staffing. And we've done that with being awarded the Saber grant, which Saber grant is a grant that's used to fully fund staffing over a 3-year period, and then following that, some of that will be possibly absorbed by Measure I, but also future positions for meeting the 10-17 Measure I. So the SAR report makes an outline of all the recommendations.
Your training grounds out there, you're talking about the ones that are out by the next high school. Correct. I've been out there since we first opened up in March, chief. And back then, a year or two later, I was telling them they were drawing people into the training from all across the western state. Is that still the case?
Well, we do host regional training there. Our draw primarily is from Central Valley. Mostly the trainings that we open outside are to assist our neighboring ministries, more of a regional in our area, Clay County, East County, Fresno County. That's where we draw. So we host numerous classes, but a big part of our focus now is the internal needs of the organization. More classes will be coming in to help make our department safer, and then we'll start expanding out to outside classes. So the college also uses those rounds, so they have some basic fire academy before they go to college. Those classes as well.
Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Margaret, would you like to update us on library?
Yeah, I know, good morning. And still on the budget now, but definitely starting the next fiscal year. There'll be a lot more money spent because they're gonna open the small library, one next to grocery store. It's not even, we're not gonna actual date of opening until they're 80% set up. Right now, they've got the furniture in there, they're getting that set up, they're going to get all the books in. And then they're planning on the children's program through the summer. And of course, that will raise the budget. It'll be open, once it's open, it'll be open just the same hours as the library was before. It's one Monday, 2:30, 9 to 8, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 6, and Sunday, 4 to 5. So there'll be more staffing days. So I don't know if it's 50 things that in the past year we've done nothing. So it's like opening a whole new person. Whole different world day.
Donnie?
Yeah, I think as far as the upcoming budget goes, like committee members Spencer said, the a little bit from the unknown as far as going into a new temporary library. We haven't been in there before, so trying to project some of these budget numbers, we'll have to see how they pan out. But we think the significant increases that you'll see from last fiscal year to the upcoming one, part-time salary is one thing, just because we will be open 7 days a week where we haven't really had a facility to be open before. So there'll be some significant staffing costs that we haven't seen. The professional and temporary services, another line item that, has an increase. I think it was 6,000, let's see, last year was 6,721, and this coming year is 15,000. Those are items from our, like our, reading incentive programs and things like that, where we, have temporary services, say a reptile show or a magic show or things like that, that we hire to come in, just to do, like the finales of these different reading incentive programs and things like that. So there'll be some of those costs where we haven't had facilities and the programs going on because we haven't been open. And so we'll be incurring some of those costs. So that's where you see the increase on that one. Other than that, it's just, you know, you'll see some utility costs and some different building and ground maintenance increase a little bit, just again, because we're in a new building, which we haven't been in. So those are the main items that we went over, that we project will be a little bit different than this last fiscal year when we weren't open.
You know, that if you have the address off the top of your head where this temporary place is,
50 West Olive, Suite B, the grocery outlet warehouse, that center there.
Let's go to both the outlet.
I'm sure the services that are gonna be offered there, due to the nature of it being a temporary facility, are gonna be limited. Do you know what kind of services that will be offered?
They'll be similar to what we've had in the past, just on a smaller scale. They'll just be, like there'll be some of the same, like reading incentive type programs. There'll be some school age tutoring and some, even some little like summer, we'll try to do some summer, like physical fitness and different types of programs. In classes, they're just a lot smaller size of a building to do some of those things in, but we're trying to replicate what we had before, just on a little bit smaller scale.
It may have to limit the number of children that can go into a program because the area is much smaller than what we had before. And they have to take so much in, so, you know,
Okay. Very good. Any questions for library service? Thank you. John, want to talk about those?
So I spoke with Michael and Javier earlier this morning. The budget that they've gone over for the last quarter has been fairly quiet. However, moving into this next quarter and obviously on to the rest of the summer, we should see a ramp up in costs. Just because it will actually have an opportunity for them to get more work done. But nothing was out of the ordinary. Looking at the budget coming up for 23, we see an extended handful of additional projects, but nothing seems to be out of the ordinary.
Sure, thank you very much. Had a good conversation with the committee member, earlier this morning. Really just talked about the self-perform maintenance that's occurring. And exactly as mentioned, we were in the process of doing a lot of our cold overlays the last couple months. So currently we're wrapping up the end of the fiscal year season, which is what is reflected in the budget. And one of the pieces included today was Porter from Olive to Putnam. So if you're driving on that street, that's included today. We'll be starting Monday on driving Indiana from Putnam to Morton. So we'll be working on that over the next couple of weeks to wrap that up. And then a few small locations, isolated areas, Henderson, to other locations on all of that. We'll be wrapping up for the end of the fiscal year of work on the self-performing happening. And then finishing out the fiscal year with our overlay program. As far as, and then I'll have the area opportunity to speak about the additional projects that were mentioned. The upcoming budget for the self-performed work, there is a slight increase in just knowing the equipment facility purchase. We talked about that in the past, still trying to acquire equipment for the funding position. We're still working on the 2023 vehicle. No price ahead of purchase and cost of steel for the van to be constructed for the vehicle anticipated to be at a higher amount due to the current economic environment that we're dealing with. Some of the expenditures that you'll see from the previous budget that have not been exhausted are a result of equipment and the additional equipment into the fleet. Rather than that, the self-form work budget is the same.
Has the additional fuel costs increased because so much of what you were throwing those? Has that been reflected in this budget? Are we spending more there?
We haven't seen it yet. It'll be reflected in the upcoming budget, from the current workload. We've not seen that totally. Oil costs on our coal mix overlay has gone up. Asphalt, is secured under a contract. We actually utilize the agreement with the county. So we piggyback an agreement, to purchase our asphalt, which is secured at the price at this point in time. There is discussions as we move forward that could go up. We're in the process of securing next fiscal year's agreement. The county is signing the document now. As soon as we get that, we'll be able to review the cost. It's not anticipated to go up much, but there is anticipated to be a slight increase.
Okay, so you don't see rising costs, at least from that perspective, impacting your ability to continue on the road?
No, I think we'll still be able to accomplish. We've done some forecasting with the asphalt companies and watching the fuel market. It shouldn't change our workload capacity in the next fiscal year.
It may be outside of the purview of what we're doing here, but could I ask you to take a note, to take a look at Mulberry east from J to G, in G Street south to about the little Lynn Care facility?
That is in a project.
Those things are so, I'm really embarrassed for the people who live there, that they have to drive on that road. It's so bad. It has been for a long time.
I can provide some context on that. So the city went through a bonding measure to install sewer infrastructure throughout the city to pick up service capacity. It's about 14 miles of sewer main installed. That specific area is under design for the project to be completed. We'll be starting, I believe we're out to bid on a number of those projects now. So as soon as that is out to bid and constructed, we fully anticipate all those areas, and that being one of them, next year being picked up in our coal mix overlay. So as soon as the project comes through and installs the infrastructure, we'll come back in and complete the full road with the coal mix overlay to do a full project.
That thing needs to be torn up and completely rebuilt so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most everyone here remembers, 5 years ago when the city did the hostile takeover of that county island there, one of the things that the residents were promised was increased infrastructure. And that road hasn't been touched, and it's been that bad for at least that long. It's not long, but when it was built down.
So we completed, about 2 years ago, we completed a bonding measure to funding about $14 million to give us the funding to do that work. It's been under design, and for the design to complete, going out the bid, to be constructed this year, I mean.
They'll only be completed by mid-December.
So it'll be completed this calendar year, and then as we move into next year, as soon as we're able to, weather permitting and temperatures, we'll be completing that project with a full overlay to finish out that. There's a number of areas, and unfortunately, we just couldn't respond to those areas until the infrastructure is installed.
That's almost the third world. Thank you.
No problem.
So would you like to address next year's projects or budgets or audio? Would you like to do it?
Yeah, to add to what Mike had mentioned, one significant expenditure we had was the pavement management program. And what that was, we probably saw some funny looking vans driving around, but they were taking inventory of every single street in town along with sidewalk conditions and then street, signage and marking. And pretty much giving us a big database of the assets that are out there. And what that's gonna enable us to do is, on the life side, track asset management and see when seismic get replaced when they're too old and they're not reflected anymore. When paintings are getting refreshed. But on the pavement side, for the most part, all the money for self-performed overlays are spoken for fiscal year 22-23 because of having to follow up with the sewer projects this year. But from next summer on, the pavement management program is going to provide us the roadmap of what the most efficient use of the city's funds are to improve street conditions. It's gonna, it weighs into how much money we have available to the conditions and amount of rehabilitation of the street community. So that's, we're excited about that. And otherwise, just ongoing design for major street reconstructions. The projects that we should be able to release soon for bid are the Village Street reconstruction from Olive to Henderson Avenue and Newcomb Street from Olive Avenue to just off the Morton at the Forest Loop. And the other part of the projects are just design in progress, which we're constrained a little bit because a lot of the effort is going into not really funded on the Measure I, but they're taking all of our attention, which are the recent grant projects of the city landing, which are the Butterfield Stage Corridor and Santa Fe Byway project, which are pedestrian / bike improvements that span across town. So yeah, that's the summary of the project.
Where's the Butterfield Corridor at?
That is the former railroad that's along B Street in the downtown area.
Yeah.
So this project is gonna fund from North Grand Avenue by Carroll's Tire all the way down to Yates Avenue, past Ranch Market, right there where the curve is.
The old SB.
And it'll be a pedestrian trail and landscape with all the menus that go with it.
Is the long range plan to go even further with?
Correct. Yeah, the city owns right away on the south side from Yates there down to Teapot Dome, and on the north side from North Grand Avenue to Strathmore.
That's for like walking bicycles.
Yeah.
That would be great as a bicycle. Good. Very good. The database development of the bands you had, were they taking pictures? Is that what that was about? The film they took, or how did they do it? I guess assume they did.
Yes, it's a mixture of stills and pictures and video.
So is this the first time you've done that, or is this a follow-up to how it's been done for a while?
This is the first time we've done it, was through an automated process. Back in 2009, 2010, we had 2 staff members walk the entire town to do the first pavement management program. But it was accurate, but again, just limited, and it took pretty much a whole year's worth of 2 people, and it just wasn't efficient. And so we hired those services out, and they drove around town for about a month.
Now, is that something that's repeated on an annual basis, or every 10 years, or 5 years? Or
Every 3 years.
in 3 years?
Yeah, there'll be some minimal check-ins here and there, but every 3 years we do that event come around again.
Any questions for Javier? On the team? Thank you very much.
Cool.
I'll slow down. After hearing these, I would like a motion on either accepting or denying the reports for Q3 and for preliminary budgets. My next one. I'll say.
No, you.
Okay. Hey, John. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Um, the, next item on here are committee terms. We, in the packet, you're sent a form, a report that we have a number of terms that are ending. John, yours is ending, potentially ending. But potentially ending, mine, Jerry, and John. So the way this process works, if I understand it correctly, is that we should, we're supposed to submit to Fernando a request if we want to continue or not continue. If we do want to continue, we time down. If we don't want to, we come down. Is that correct?
In a way, yeah, so
Explain the process.
we wouldn't need an appointment until your next meeting, I'm not entirely sure. Big probably on. So we would need at least, after pretty much this month, a request for appointments, a reappointment for any member who doesn't, who wants to wish that. If not, then if we don't get a letter stating that the reappointment is wanted, we're probably gonna have to just assume that that person is no longer wishing to serve on the committee, or a letter be sent to us stating that, they're not gonna reappoint or something, so that we can start, filling in those vacancies. So that's pretty much, and then again, that the request for reappointment would go to the council, most likely the meeting before, then the meeting.
Okay, we just vote in the past, but we do it all.
Pretty, I mean,
If you want to put it on the record here, that's fine.
yeah, if you wanna
Yeah,
say
that's not-
that you're not wishing to reappoint, then that's fine. A letter can be sent, stating the same. But if you wanna reappoint, then we would need a reappointment form sent to us.
Reappointment form.
A request for appointment, which on there, it'll show that if you're requesting to reappoint.
So we could just go on record here and that satisfies it.
Then they'll email you the next one.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go ahead and, I mean, if you're wishing to reappoint, then we can go ahead and still submit those forms, so we can get, because either way, they're gonna have to go back into the council for consideration.
Yes, I recommend that we just email that reappointment form to all of those that terms are coming to an end, and if they choose to be reappointed, they're ready. And just send it there. Yep, send it to each individual. If that.
Yeah, that's great. Very good. Also, we were looking at, I saw some ads come up to fill the vacancy we have for Utah. Is that, John, can you update us on progress
I
of
think
it?
we've received a couple of requests for appointment.
That's correct. We have received for that appointment.
What's the process?
There wasn't a deadline set for that, so if that's something that we, or wishes to go ahead and go with whatever we have, we can submit it to the next council meeting for appointment. Or,
Have we not gone through this before?
My recommendation would be to do both of it. So as you have terms that are ending plus vacancies and those that have expressed interest, why don't we have times I've done them at the same time. So if you, those that wish, so from this, that there's, so that there's not twice where that council, looked at. So if there's those that wish not to be reappointed, that would be part of the vacancy that we consider from those. Okay, because if we take that now and there's only one and then somebody chose not to be, then that creates a vacancy again. So kind of reconcile the roster in before your next meeting.
So what this board needs to do is just, we'll get the form, we'll either respond and say yes, or respond and say no, or don't respond. At that point in time, you'll look at the people that have interest in doing this, recommend to them, pass the full, city council for renewal of the new people and the reappointment.
Yeah, that's typically how we've done it, where we've had terms expiring, vote and then fill vacancies from those that are.
I have a friend that came and filled out all the paperwork. They haven't heard anything, and he is very eager to go out and down.
I'm sure that's one of the applications they have. And at this point in time, we're gonna wait until everybody responds. I'm asking that this will all happen this next month or within the month. And then before the next meeting, we shut it down. And it'll go before the council before the next meeting.
We should definitely do it in June. We typically don't have the first meeting in July, due to the July 4th holiday, so, and then I think the second meeting in July would be too tight, with. Sure. If there's gonna be some new members, we try to meet with them and try to prepare them for, you're gonna have new members. You're gonna have new members no matter what, right? So, so I would say one of the meetings in June.
Okay, for the
So,
council,
so that gives you some time. So why don't we target the second meeting in June? So maybe those that have terms expiring would be notifying the clerk's office by reappointment that they wish to be reappointed, and then also addressing any vacancies that are created by request not to be.
good. Are there any questions, further questions or discussion?
And I make this a special point about the June meeting, so we're doing, because of the KJUG concert series, our regular council meetings, instead of being on Tuesday, we're gonna be on Monday. They're gonna be adjourned meetings on June 6th and June 4th. So, the Tuesday council meetings are, we move to Monday so that KJUG can have their time on Tuesday.
So usually have these meetings, we have 4 meetings a quarter or a year, once a quarter. So this will push us into August. Okay. So what's a good time in August? Usually it's like towards the end of the month, right? So like the 25th is that's the 4th week, it's the 3rd week, 18th of August. What does that look like?
I have a prayer. I have a partner meeting.
Okay. We could move it to the 25th if that would work better. So we're going to, the 25th work for everybody? Okay, we're trying to. Okay. Have it on the August 25th. 5:30. And we need to kind of talk a little bit about, we're going to, after this is over, we're going to tour the facility here. So we can kind of see what's going on. I don't know how many of you have toured this facility. I've never been here before. So get in here, that's not what I meant. I think it's but that's as far as it's gone. So I need to kind of interested capabilities and the things they have going on here. The next meeting we talked about possibly having it with Brian's approval if you want to go over to the fire department. Absolutely. Would you have it at the fire department, the training center, where do you think? Have you had a chance to do that?
Well, we've done the training center before.
Not this good.
Well, I have.
Okay.
I think we have enough members to have it. If we just start with base, start with the home base, absolutely. The meeting on the 25th?
Yeah.
So the meeting on the 25th, I'll be at the National Fire Academy in Pittsburgh, Maryland, but I will have Shannon Scout, the acting deputy chief.
Let's change the date. Well, alternatively, you could schedule a meeting at the new library.
Oh,
Or, temporary, new library, not the new library, won't be done.
yeah, it's kind of like Brian would like you to be there for it.
Oh,
Possible. Yeah. Donnie, how do you feel about that? Library, you think, and some up in the air.
We'll be, I mean, that'll be fine, it just might not be the quietest little spot to move, but, it's open. You know, if we close it, you know, something, I don't know, but we're open, we'll be open to the public at times typically when we meet. So it'll be a little bit, it's basically one big room, there's a staff area in the back that I guess could be a little bit quiet, but, that's the only thing, it's not gonna be a quiet room like this. Or a fire station or whatever.
Does it have Zoom ability? Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the respect. John, that's a requirement. We have to have, right? Everything.
Well, we've been providing electronic.
Okay, correct. Let's finally set it up for the library.
Okay.
And, as it gets closer, let's make sure that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay. The next one will be the library. That's the Joe Smith apartment. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the, committee? Anybody would like to comment on?
I have a comment. I'd like to thank Fernando for the help with finding the 50,000. He did a great job.
Oh, I can't take full credit for that. That was a conjunction of, HR and Rico Fernando actually, did a good amount of editing for that, so he was able to coordinate with some of the departments as well and get that out there.
It's nice to see people in this film.
Absolutely. Very good. If there's nothing else, I can return the meeting.